The crimson sands of Nexus Prime stretched endlessly beneath twin purple suns, a wasteland that had claimed countless lives. Yet here stood Maya Chen, 19 years old, hands on her hips, grinning like she owned the place. Which, technically she did now. Well, she muttered, surveying the carnage around her. 3 massive Vortak hunting ships lay twisted and burning in the desert, their hull plates scattered like discarded toys. Looks like someone forgot to read the fine print about messing with Earth colonies. The translator device clipped to her collar crackled to life. A dying Vortak warrior, twice her size and covered in chitinous armor, wheezed out words in his guttural language. Human, female impossible, how did you... Maya crouched beside the alien, her expression shifting from mockery to something far more dangerous. Her brown eyes, which had seemed so ordinary moments before, now held depths that made seasoned warriors flinch. Oh, you want to know my secret? She tilted her head, voice dripping with false sweetness. Here's the thing about humans. Big guy, we don't just survive. We adapt. We learn. And when you killed my little brother Tommy on Kepler Station, her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any scream. We remember everything. The Vortak's compound eyes widened in recognition. Tommy Chun, the 8-year-old boy they had vaporized during their raid on the farming colony. Just another casualty in their expansion across the outer rim. But that was 2 years ago. The alien gasped. 2 years, 3 months, 16 days, Maya corrected, standing up and dusting sand from her jacket. Amazing what grief can teach you about patience. She turned away from the dying warrior and walked toward the largest crash ship. Behind her, something stirred in the shadows between the wreckage, something that made the sand itself seem to whisper and shift. The first creature that emerged was a shadow maw, a predator native to Nexus Prime that had terrorized colonial settlements for decades. 8 feet of midnight black scales, claws that could slice through reinforced steel, and teeth designed by evolution's cruelest imagination. Colonial Marines had standing orders to retreat if they encountered even one. Maya looked over her shoulder as the beast approached, its massive head lowered in what any sane person would recognize as a hunting posture. "Hey there, beautiful," she said conversationally. "Right on time." The shadow maw stopped 3 feet behind her, then did something that had never been recorded in any xenobiological study. It sat, like a dog waiting for a treat. More shapes emerged from the wreckage. A pack of razor-fin stalkers, their metallic hides gleaming in the dual sunlight. A juvenile void WRM, barely 20 feet long, but capable of swallowing a hover tank. And bringing up the rear, something that made the other predators look like house pets. A Nexus Titan, 40 feet of armor destruction that typically required orbital bombardment to kill. It moved with surprising grace for something the size of a building, its 4 massive legs carrying it across the sand until it lowered its enormous head in what could only be described as a bow. Maya didn't even turn around. She was busy examining her fingernails. "Let me guess," she called out to the surviving Vortak crew members who were stumbling from their wrecked vessels. "You're wondering how a teenage human girl just happens to have the most dangerous predators in known space acting like trained pets." The Vortak captain, his ceremonial armor cracked and leaking green fluid, raised his plasma rifle with shaking hands. "Impossible. The beasts of Nexus Prime serve no master. They are chaos incarnate." Maya finally turned around, and her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "Oh, Captain Zektar, we meet at last." The alien's rifle wavered. "How do you know my name?" "Same way I knew you'd be here today. Same way I knew exactly which shipping route you'd take after raiding the medical supplies from New Geneva Station." She took a step forward, and the assembled predators shifted restlessly behind her, eager for violence. "I've been studying you for 2 years, Captain. Every raid, every atrocity, every time you thought no one was watching. The colonies you hit weren't random, were they?" Maya continued, her voice gaining momentum like a gathering storm. "You were looking for something specific, something the Earth Defense Force doesn't even know they're missing." Captain Zektar's mandibles clicked nervously. Around him, his surviving crew members were backing away, some clutching wounds, others simply paralyzed by the impossibility of what they were witnessing. "The Helix Research Station," Maya said, and the captain's entire body went rigid. "Dr. Sarah Chen's final project before you murdered her and destroyed the facility. My mother's life work." The truth hit the Vorthak like a physical blow. The girl's last name, the tactical knowledge, the unnatural connection to the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. "You're not just some colonist seeking revenge," Zektar whispered. "You're her daughter." "Bingo." Maya's grin turned feral. "Mom was close to a breakthrough when you killed her. Something about psionic resonance patterns in apex predators. How their pack hierarchies could be influenced by specific neural frequencies." She tapped her temple. Turns out her research was more complete than anyone realized. The captain's rifle dropped to his side. The neural implant. She tested it on herself and passed modifications to me before I was born. Maya's eyes seemed to glow in the alien sunlight. "Mom always said I was special. Took me 16 years to figure out exactly how special." She gestured casually, and the shadow maw behind her took a single step forward. The sound of its claws on sand was like nails on a chalkboard, amplified through a stadium sound system. "Here's what's going to happen, Captain," Maya continued, her voice never losing its conversational tone. "You're going to tell me where you've hidden the data cores from Helix Station. Every file, every backup, every scrap of my mother's research that you stole. And if I refuse..." Maya's laugh was genuinely delighted. "Oh, please refuse. Do you have any idea how long these beautiful creatures have been cooped up in their caves, dreaming of fresh Vorthak?" The void WRM behind her made a sound somewhere between a purr and a steam engine venting pressure. Its massive coils shifted in the sand, each movement casual but somehow conveying infinite potential for violence. "The data cores are aboard our flagship," the captain said quickly, "in orbit around the fourth moon." "Good boy." Maya patted the air mockingly. "See how easy that was?" She turned to address the rest of the Vorthak crew, who were huddled together like children afraid of the dark. "Now, I know what you're thinking. She's going to kill us anyway, right? Make us pay for what we did to her brother, her mother, all those innocent people." The aliens nodded frantically. "Wrong." Maya's expression became almost pitying. "I'm not going to kill you. That would be too quick, too clean, too human." She whistled a low, haunting sound that seemed to resonate in frequencies beyond normal hearing. The assembled predators responded immediately, their eyes beginning to glow in eerie inner light. "Instead, you're going to experience something completely new. A kind of hunt that's never existed before in the history of your species." Maya began walking backward, her pets flowing around her like a living tide of death. "I'm going to give you a 10-minute head start." The Vorthak captain found his voice. "A head start to what?" "To run, obviously." Maya's grin widened impossibly. "See, these lovely creatures have been living on this planet for millions of years, perfectly adapted to hunt anything that moves. But they've never hunted Vorthak before, never learned your scent, your movement patterns, your weaknesses." She paused, savoring the moment like fine wine. "Today they learn." The Nexus Titan behind her rumbled, a sound that vibrated through the sand and into the bones of every living creature within a mile radius. The other predators took up the sound, creating a symphony of anticipated violence that made the twin suns seem to dim. 10 minutes starts now," Maya announced, checking the chronometer on her wrist. "I'd suggest you use them wisely." The Vorthak scattered like startled birds, their natural dignity forgotten in the face of primal terror. Captain Zektar hesitated for a moment, looking back at the human girl who had become his nemesis. "Why?" he called out. "Why not just kill us cleanly?" Maya's expression softened for just a moment, and in that instant, she looked like what she was supposed to be, a 19-year-old girl who should have been worried about college applications and weekend plans, not orchestrating elaborate revenge scenarios on alien worlds. "Because, Captain," she said quietly, "Tommy was afraid of the dark, and my mother died screaming. Clean deaths are for people who show mercy." The moment passed, and the predator returned to her eyes. 9 minutes, 30 seconds, she announced cheerfully. Captain Zektar ran. Maya settled onto a convenient boulder, her deadly companions arranging themselves around her in a protective circle. The shadow maw lay down beside her, its massive head resting near her feet like a loyal dog. She scratched behind what might have been its ears, and the creature made a sound of contentment that would have terrified xenobiologists across the galaxy. "Good girl, Midnight," she murmured. "Just a few more minutes, and then you can play." The Void WRM, which she had privately named Noodles due to its serpentine appearance, coiled its massive length into a comfortable pile nearby. The razor-fin stalkers prowled the perimeter, their pack instincts perfectly synchronized with Maya's unspoken commands. And the Nexus Titan, whom she called Big Ben because of the clock-like precision of his movements, stood sentinel over them all, its massive head scanning the horizon for threats that would never come. Maya closed her eyes and felt the pulse of life across the planet, the neural networks that connected every predator, every hunting instinct, every apex creature's drive to survive and dominate. Her mother's final gift, written into her DNA, had awakened something that evolution had spent millions of years perfecting. She was the apex of apex predators, the alpha of alphas, the one creature that all others instinctively recognized as their superior. And she was 19 years old with a grudge that burned hotter than the twin suns overhead. "Time's up," she announced, opening her eyes and standing with fluid grace. The hunt was about to begin. The orbital station hung in space like a metallic spider web, its angular Vorthack architecture stark against the star field. Captain Zektar had told the truth about one thing at least. His flagship was indeed docked at the mining platform orbiting Nexus Prime's fourth moon. Maya floated in the cargo hold of her commandeered transport ship, surrounded by her unlikely crew. The shadow maw had adapted to zero gravity better than anyone expected, its claws finding purchase on the bulkheads with supernatural ease. The razor-fin stalkers moved through the weightless environment like they were born for it, their metallic hides reflecting the ship's emergency lighting in dangerous patterns. But it was the Void WIRM that truly impressed her. Noodles had somehow compressed his massive form into a coil that fit perfectly in the ship's largest compartment, his spatial folding abilities defying several known laws of physics. "Attention, unidentified vessel," came a transmission in heavily accented standard. "You are approaching a restricted Vorthack military installation. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Maya activated the comm system with one finger, her voice honey-sweet and absolutely terrifying. "This is Maya Chen, requesting permission to dock. I believe Captain Zektar is expecting me." A pause, then frantic chittering in the background before a different Vorthack voice came online. "Captain Zektar is currently planetside on a hunting expedition. State your business." "Oh, that's funny," Maya replied, examining her fingernails again. It was becoming a habit, this casual dismissal of mortal danger. "Because I just finished playing hide and seek with the good captain. Spoiler alert, he lost." The comm channel went silent for several seconds. Maya could practically hear the alien crew arguing in the background, trying to decide if she was bluffing. "Proof," the voice finally demanded. Maya smiled and activated her personal recorder. The screams that filled the comm channel were unmistakably Vorthack, layered with sounds that suggested very large, very hungry creatures were involved in whatever was happening. "Satisfied?" she asked pleasantly. "Now, about that docking permission. You killed Captain Zektar?" "Technically, I didn't kill anyone." Maya's tone became conversational, almost chatty. "I just introduced him to some friends of mine who had very strong opinions about his recent career choices. The democratic process took care of the rest." Another long pause. When the voice returned, it was noticeably higher pitched. "What do you want?" "Just the data cores from Helix Research Station. Should be in the captain's personal vault. I'll be quick, I promise. In and out, no muss, no fuss. The research data is classified Vorthack military intelligence. We cannot simply hand it over to a human terrorist." Maya's expression darkened, and every predator in the cargo hold seemed to sense the shift in her mood. The temperature in the compartment dropped several degrees. "Terrorist," she repeated, her voice deadly quiet. That's interesting word choice from someone whose people specialize in murdering children for sport. She activated the ship's external cameras and patched the feed through to the station. Tell me, how many crew members do you have aboard that facility? That information is classified. Humor me. Rough estimate. 200 personnel. Perfect. Maya's smile returned, but it was a sort of smile that belonged on something with far too many teeth. Noodles, sweetheart, could you show them your party trick? The Void WRM uncoiled himself with liquid grace, pressing his massive head against the ship's primary viewport. Then he did something that made every physicist in the galaxy wake up screaming, even though they didn't know why. Space around the creature began to fold. Reality bent like taffy, and suddenly the Void WRM was no longer inside the ship's cargo hold. He was outside, in vacuum, his impossible length wrapping around the transport vessel like a cosmic serpent. But that wasn't the truly terrifying part. The terrifying part was that he was growing. Or rather, he was unfolding himself from dimensions that normal space couldn't accommodate. His true size, constrained by planetary atmosphere and gravity, was finally revealed. The transport ship, which had seemed reasonably large moments before, now appeared to be a small toy clutched in the coils of something that defied comprehension. Noodle's head alone was easily the size of a city block, and his body stretched into the distance until it became impossible to track where it ended. "Sweet mother of stars," whispered the Vordak controller, his voice barely audible over the comm. "Oh, this?" Maya laughed delightedly. "This is just one of my pets having a stretch. You should see what happens when he gets really excited." The massive head turned toward the orbital station, and twin lights like collapsing stars regarded the metal structure with what could only be described as mild interest. When Noodles opened his mouth, the void between his teeth seemed to contain glimpses of other universes. "Now then," Maya continued, her voice cutting through the stunned silence, "let's try this again. I would like to dock and retrieve my mother's research data. This is not a request." "The docking bay is being prepared for your arrival," came the immediate response. "Excellent. Oh, and just so we're clear, any attempt at treachery will result in my friend here deciding your station looks like a very interesting chew toy. Noodles gets cranky when he's hungry, and it's been at least 3 hours since his last meal." Maya piloted the ship toward the station's main docking bay, Noodles keeping pace with movements that suggested the vast distances of space were merely suggestions to him. The other creatures in the cargo hold had gone completely still, their predatory instincts recognizing that they were in the presence of something that made them look like house pets. The docking process was surprisingly smooth. Maya had expected some sort of ambush, maybe automated defense systems or a squad of Vortak Marines. Instead, she found the docking bay completely empty, except for a single figure waiting by the airlock. Well, this is either a very polite welcome committee or the most obvious trap in the history of obvious traps, she mused, checking the atmospheric readings. "What do you think, Midnight?" The shadow maw pressed against the viewport, its compound eyes studying the lone Vortak with predatory intensity. After a moment, it made a soft sound that Maya had learned to interpret as mild dismissal. "Yeah, I agree. Not much of a threat." She cycled through the airlock alone, leaving her companions aboard the ship. The Vortak waiting for her was elderly by their species standards, his chitinous plates dull with age and his mandibles moving in what she recognized as nervousness. "You are Maya Chen," he said. It wasn't a question. "Guilty as charged." "And you are?" "Senior researcher Kralveth. I worked with your mother before the incident at Helix Station." Maya's entire demeanor changed in an instant. The casual cruelty disappeared, replaced by something harder and infinitely more dangerous. "Worked with her how exactly?" "I was part of the cultural exchange program. Dr. Chen was brilliant, revolutionary in her approach to psionic research. Her theories about apex predator neural networks were—" He paused, searching for words. "They were going to change everything." And yet somehow, the Vortak military decided to raid her station and murder everyone aboard. Maya's voice was conversational, but her eyes promised violence. Funny how that works. The military council feared her research. They believed humans were developing biological weapons, using the predator studies as cover. Kralveth's age spots seemed to darken with what might have been shame. I tried to convince them otherwise, but I was overruled. So you just stood by and watched them kill my mother. I was not informed of the attack until after it occurred. When I learned what had happened, the old alien's voice trailed off. I preserved what data I could, hidden it from the military council. Maya studied him for a long moment, her genetically enhanced instincts reading micro-expressions and body language with perfect clarity. Finally, she nodded. You're telling the truth. Interesting. She tilted her head. Where's the data? My personal laboratory. But Maya, you must understand what your mother discovered, what she passed on to you. It cannot fall into the wrong hands. Such as, the Hegemony Council has been searching for ways to control the apex predators of various worlds for centuries. If they learned that humans had solved the problem, Kralveth shuddered. Every inhabited world will become a hunting ground. Maya was quiet for several seconds, processing this information. Outside the station, Noodles had coiled himself into a comfortable position, his massive form casting shadows across the lunar surface below. Take me to the data, she said finally. Kralveth's laboratory was a mess of organic computers and psionic amplification equipment, most of it clearly jury-rigged and experimental. Maya recognized several pieces of technology that matched her mother's research notes. Here, the old researcher said, indicating a data core that pulsed with soft bioluminescence. Everything your mother worked on, plus my own contributions. The complete neural resonance mapping of 17 different apex predator species. Maya picked up the core and immediately felt a tingling sensation as it interfaced with her enhanced neural pathways. Information flooded her consciousness. Predator pack dynamics, psionic frequency patterns, the underlying mathematical structures that govern apex behavior across multiple species. There's more, Kralveth continued. Your mother's final experiment. She theorized that the neural modification could be enhanced, expanded beyond simple predator control. Enhance how? Symbiosis. True partnership between human consciousness and apex predator instincts. She believed it was the next step in human evolution. Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's life support systems. She tested it on herself, didn't she? In the final weeks before the attack, yes, the changes were remarkable, but incomplete when she died. And now I'm her test subject. Maya's laugh was bitter. The experiment continues, courtesy of random genetic mutation. Not random, Kralveth corrected gently. Designed. Your mother knew the attack was coming. She accelerated the process, encoded the modifications into your genetic structure before birth. You were her message to the future. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the pulse of predatory consciousness that surrounded her even here, in the sterile environment of the space station. Somewhere below, on Nexus Prime's surface, dozens of apex predators were responding to her presence, their pack instincts recognizing her alpha even across the vacuum of space. Why are you helping me? She asked. Because your mother was right. Humans are the next evolutionary step, not just for Earth, but for the galaxy. The Vordak hegemony fears change, fears anything that threatens their control. Kralveth activated several displays, showing star charts and colony reports. But look at what you accomplished already. A single human, barely adult, controlling creatures that have never been tamed. The displays showed reports from across the Outer Rim. Predator attacks on Vordak installations had increased 300% in the last 6 months. Colonial worlds that had been terrorized for generations were reporting unprecedented cooperation from local apex species. They're responding to you, Kralveth explained. Even at interstellar distances, the strongest predators can sense what you become. The network is awakening. Maya opened her eyes, and for a moment, they reflected light like an animal's. How many others are there? Other humans with the modifications? Your mother's research was destroyed before she could replicate the process. As far as I know, you are unique. For now, Maya pocketed the data core and turned toward the exit. Thank you, Kralveth, for preserving her work, for telling me the truth. What will you do now? Maya paused at the laboratory door, her back to the old researcher. The Vorthack hegemony thinks they can expand across the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. They've forgotten something important about Earth's history, which is humans don't just survive extinction events. Maya's smile was visible in her reflection on the laboratory's polished surfaces. We cause them. She walked back through the station's corridors, past crew members who pressed themselves against the walls to avoid her gaze. None of them tried to stop her. Whatever they saw in her eyes, whatever primal instinct warned them of danger, it was enough to keep them frozen in place. Back in the docking bay, Maya paused before entering her ship. The comm system crackled to life. This is Admiral Thorak of the Hegemony Fleet. Unidentified human vessel. You are surrounded. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Maya looked up through the bay's transparent aluminum ceiling. Sure enough, a dozen Vorthack warships had emerged from hyperspace, their weapons trained on the orbital station. "Oh, Admiral," she said sweetly, activating the open comm channel. "I was wondering when you'd show up. You have 30 seconds to comply. Or what? You'll blow up your own research station." Maya's laugh echoed through the comm system. "With 200 of your own people aboard? The lives of researchers are acceptable losses to prevent human biological weapons from reaching Earth space." Biological weapons. Maya shook her head in amusement. "You really don't understand what you're dealing with, do you?" She whistled, the same low, haunting sound that had summoned her companions on the planet's surface. This time, however, the frequency was different, modulated to carry across the vacuum of space itself. The response was immediate and terrifying. Space around the orbital station began to ripple, like water disturbed by some massive presence moving beneath the surface. The Vorthack warship's sensors went haywire as reality itself seemed to flux around them. Then the Void WRMS arrived. Not just Noodles, but his entire extended family. Creatures of impossible size and geometry, folding themselves through dimensions that existed only in the nightmares of theoretical physicists. They materialized around a hegemony fleet like cosmic serpents, their forms so vast that individual ships looked like insects trapped in a web. "Sweet mother of stars," whispered Admiral Thorak, his voice barely audible over the comm. "Close," Maya replied cheerfully. "But not quite. See, the thing about apex predators is that they're very social creatures. Hurt one of the pack, and the rest get cranky. The lead Void WRM, easily twice Noodle size, regarded Admiral Thorak's flagship with mild interest. When it opened its mouth, the space between its teeth revealed glimpses of dying stars and collapsing galaxies. "Now then," Maya continued, settling into her pilot seat, "I'm going to leave now. Any attempts to follow me will result in some very hungry space whales deciding your ships look like interesting snacks." She fired up her engines and pulled away from the station, Noodles falling into formation beside her ship like a cosmic escort. Behind them, the Hegemony fleet remained perfectly still, surrounded by creatures that could consume their entire civilization without noticing. As they entered hyperspace, Maya activated her personal log recorder. Personal entry, day 743, since beginning my investigation into the Helix Station incident. I have recovered my mother's research and confirmed the extent of my own modifications. The network is responding as theorized, with apex predators across multiple star systems showing increased coordination and intelligence. She paused, watching the stars streak past in hyperspace. Beginning phase 2 of the operation. It's time the galaxy learned what happens when you threaten a human's family. In the cargo hold behind her, Midnight and the other predators settled in for the journey. They could sense their alpha's satisfaction, her plans finally coming to fruition. The hunt for the Vorthack hegemony was just beginning, and somewhere in the depths of space, on worlds scattered across the galaxy, apex predators lifted their heads and howled in harmony, their voices carrying a message that made civilizations tremble. The humans were coming, and they were not coming alone.